but Tofu jumped over him and came after him again. Then Paul reached the basement door and tried to roll under it to hide. But Tofu put his paw inside from under the door and attacked Paul, due to which he rolled down the stairs and fell. Fortunately, he fell into a garbage box lying below. But due to getting hurt, he fainted. After some time, Alice returned home, and as soon as her eyes fell on the blood-soaked shirt, she was stunned. Meanwhile, Paul regained consciousness and started calling out Alice's name loudly. But in a little while, Alice came to the basement and kept looking around. Still, she neither saw Paul nor heard his voice. Just then, Tofu also arrived there, and seeing his prey, started making a strange sound, hearing which Alice turned towards him. She thought that Tofu had eaten Paul, and shouting at Tofu in anger, she ran towards the stairs. For poor Paul, feeling so helpless and unsupported, was becoming very frustrating. In anger, he started throwing things around. Then, while waiting in the middle of the night, he got tired and started finding a way to survive on his own. First of all, he cut a piece of cloth and covered his body, and tied a wire like a belt. Then, looking around inside the box, he found a small hole in a corner, through which he came out. He picked up his needle and started moving towards the window. But just then, hearing the sound of something in the dark, he suddenly stopped. His heart started beating fast. Out of fear, he climbed onto the water heater. But it was not possible to get out of the window because there was a mosquito net on it. Just then, he saw that water was dripping from the pipe again, so finding an opportunity, Paul drank water right there and cleaned his body and wound with it. But now he felt very scared to move forward in the dark, so Paul slept under that same water heater. The next morning, he woke up to Mia's voice, who was calling him. But when he ran towards the stairs, they were so high for him that he couldn't even climb them. He also called out Mia's name loudly, but his voice did not reach anyone. And just then came the sound of the main door of the house closing and the car starting. It was clear that his whole family had left the house. So poor Paul started looking for useful things nearby. Finally, he found a piece of chalk with which he wrote his name there. Then he started looking at the space between the furniture and the wall, where some ants were eating a little cheese stuck in a mousetrap. Then Paul chased them away with his needle and tried to activate the mousetrap by dropping a nail on it. Nothing happened the first time, so he tried again, and this time the trap snapped shut instantly, due to which he could now comfortably eat all the cheese. But just then he saw a spider from above, so Paul started hammering the nail on the wall repeatedly so that there would be maximum noise, and panicked by that noise, the spider ran away from there. Well, after that, Paul tried to make a hole in another box with the help of the nail, but this time he did not succeed. Then he went to the garbage box again and brought a piece of cloth and a bottle cap. Then, filling the cap with water, he wet the cloth and softened the cardboard. This time, when he struck with the nail, a hole was finally made in it, and Paul went inside where he saw a matchbox. But it was not possible to reach it because there were some heavy things in between, which he could not even move. So he closed the hole with an eraser and tried to sleep. But after some time, some voices came from above, and then suddenly the lights went off. Paul started wondering who had come into the house now. Then, on July 15th, we see that Paul woke up from the sounds coming from inside the house. Then he started screaming loudly and tried to attract people's attention by making noise with a nail and a paperclip. But in a little while, the basement door opened, and whoever was there just peeked once and closed the door again. Now Paul understood that no one was going to come to save him. Then, to forget his pain, Paul started piercing the cork of a wine bottle with his needle, and in a little while, wine started dripping from the bottle. Now our guy comfortably sat and took a few pegs, but his small stomach couldn't digest the wine, and soon he started vomiting. Meanwhile, his eyes fell on the same spider sitting on the fish tank, and completely drunk, he told Mia's doll that today he would finish off this spider. After that, Paul also climbed on top of the fish tank, and looking at him for a few moments, the spider ran away from there, out of fear. On this victory, Paul started laughing loudly, but in this happiness, he got distracted, Just then, the spider came from behind and gave him such a tremendous push that he fell into the water. Seeing the fish, Paul swam to the surface of the water, but there he saw that the spider was waiting for him. Seeing this, poor Paul went inside the water again and kept swimming with the fish, waiting for the spider to leave. Then, after some time, Paul dropped fish food into the fish tank and thought of tasting it, but its taste turned out to be so bad that he didn't like it at all. That night, Paul was returning from the water heater after filling the bottle cap with water. Just then, he saw that the spider was waiting for him under the fish tank. The spider slowly started moving towards him, so Paul quickly took out his needle and started spinning it around to try and keep the spider away. He struck the spider's leg several times, yet the spider was not ready to step back, so Paul was forced to run and hide behind one of the legs of the furniture. But the spider reached right after him immediately, so Paul again struck several times with the needle, due to which the spider stepped back for a while. The very next moment, the spider climbed onto the wooden leg of the furniture and started attacking Paul from above. But Paul struck once again and quickly escaped from there. Now the game of cat and mouse started between the two again, and while running, Paul got tangled in the cables under the furniture and fell. The spider immediately climbed on top of him, so Paul defended himself with all his might. And just then, his eyes fell on a small piece of wood. He picked up that piece and hit the spider's eyes repeatedly, due to which the spider finally moved away from him. Then, when Paul shouted loudly at it, the spider got scared and ran to hide. After this, after a lot of hard work, Paul finally managed to pull out that matchbox. But his tiny body was not strong enough to easily light a match. The matchstick seemed exactly like a torch to him. After trying a lot, he finally succeeded in lighting one stick. Now Paul kept himself warm by lighting a small fire, and then while eating cheese, started talking to Mia's doll. He said that he misses his family very much, and if that doll ever meets Mia again, she must deliver his message to her. Like this, days passed by, and Paul exercised daily, ate cheese, and somehow kept himself alive by sleeping in that same box. Then, on July 20th, he suddenly heard someone coming, so he immediately ran towards the stairs and saw a man coming down into the basement. Paul started shouting loudly and tried to attract his attention by waving his hands, but now he had become so small that the man's voice and the sound of his footsteps seemed extremely loud and scary to him. Terrified by the echo of the man's loud voice and heavy footsteps, Paul covered his ears with both hands and ran to hide behind the stairs. He got such a severe headache that he sat on the ground and started crying. But after a while, when that man left, then Paul slowly came out. But as soon as he came out, he saw that the fish in the fish tank had now disappeared, meaning now he was truly left all alone. Then on August 2nd, a mosquito entered through the basement window. That mosquito kept staring at Paul for a few moments. And just then, Paul realized that now his size was almost like a bug. When the mosquito flew away, a thought came to Paul's mind. He thought that maybe now he has become so small that he could slip through the mosquito net on the window. And thinking this, he started climbing the furniture. Because of his very short height, it took him a lot of time and effort to reach the top. But finally, he reached the top. Then he ran at full speed and jumped, landing on the bricks kept in front, and walking along the wall, started moving towards the window. Just then, on the way, he encountered a spider web, from which he realized that the spider still lives there. Paul tried to walk very carefully so that the web wouldn't shake. But by mistake, his elbow touched the web, and that was enough. The spider immediately ran towards him. Out of fear, Paul bowed his head, because now he understood that my final time has come. I will die right here. Out of fear, he started crying and got so panicked that even his pants got wet. On the other side, the spider kept looking at him in surprise for a few moments, but just then, a fly got stuck in its web. Now the spider immediately left Paul and ran towards its web so that it could eat the fly. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Paul started moving forward, and after a lot of hard work, finally reached the window. But when he tried to get out through the mosquito net, he found out that his body was still too big to pass through it. Anyway, then on August 7th, Paul woke up when an ant started biting his leg. Paul kicked it, and the ant ran away. But the very next moment, the spider hunted it down. Just then, another ant escaped through the mosquito net, and since Paul's size was now exactly as small, he could easily slip out right behind it. Seeing the opportunity, he immediately got out and narrowly escaped the spider. Then the two kept looking at each other for a few moments. Paul was thinking whether the spider would now feel